Okay, welcome to Bitrix24 Live. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. With me I have our Support Manager, Andy Naylor.
Hi guys, so we're going to be here for the next hour answering your questions on Bitrix. So whether you use the cloud version of Bitrix or the on-premise, we have both systems ready to show you and answer those questions live on screen. Do please put the questions in the box as we go along, and if you do have any questions that come up during the week, please send them to sales@interface.com and we can start the next session with those questions.
Okay, so we have a question came in earlier. Do extranet users have the same functionality in work groups as internal users? So they do. So if we just jump into a work group, then inside a work group you get access to these. There's a customer. Let's have a look. Let's go into a different group. Inside a work group, you get access to these features across the top. General is an activity stream, tasks, calendar, a drive for documents, chat tools, discussion board, which is like a forum board, conversations, photo library, lists, allows you to create tables of data. There is a wiki, which I think is being replaced with knowledge management, and you can link to the applications there as well. So yeah, absolutely. Extranet users have access to all those features. I'm guessing, apart from applications, as an administrator, I see the link to applications allows me to install apps, but your extranet users won't get access to that. So they get access to all the features of a work group. So that's, if you want to know what's the difference, really, difference between a main user and an extranet user. An extranet user gets access to any features if it's inside a work group. They don't get access to CRM. They don't get access to workflows like absence request and other HR tools. They can access their profile, they can edit their profile, what have you, but yeah, they get access to all those features.
Yeah, and they can only talk to the people that are within their work group as well. So if you're using Bitrix and you've got 1,000 users, but you invite an extranet user into a work group that only has 10 users inside it, they will only be able to chat with those 10 users. They won't know that the other 990 users exist. So it's a good way of separating that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had another question come through. How do I sync my calendar and emails into Bitrix? So it's quite straightforward, really, to be able to sync your calendar first of all. So if you were to go to calendar here, and then if you click on the sync icon up at the top, so the two arrows here, then you can see the different options that we have to connect. So we got Google Calendar. We're on a Mac here, so we have the Mac OS X calendar. We can also sync our iPhone calendar or an Android calendar if we have an Android phone. And it's quite straightforward. We would just click on connect, and then that would allow us to connect up an email, a Google account, that we have on our screen. And once we grant the permissions and access to do that, then it will allow you the calendar from Google to come into Bitrix, and then you can have a two-way sync with any events that you add onto your Bitrix calendar, go into Google. Any events that your Google Calendar gets added onto come into Bitrix. So that's the way to sync your calendar. It's a pretty similar method, really, in the email side of things as well. So if we click into email, then what we can do is we get presented with the different options of email that we can integrate into Bitrix. So if we click on Outlook, for example, we do have a demo mailbox that we use. And then we can fetch messages for the last 2 months. We don't have too many emails in here. We would just point out that when you are synchronizing your email, if you do pick all time or 2 or 3 months and your email is quite, does receive quite a lot of emails, it will take a considerable amount of time to sync. So do please be patient if you do go set these to be a long time. And then of course you've got the CRM integration here, so you can link to the CRM. All that means is that any emails that you receive into your email box will then get integrated into the CRM if that contact or company exists. So we'll deselect that for the moment. But once we click on connect, you'll see that it presents an email inbox directly inside Bitrix. So you can, every time you receive an email, it will come into here and you'll be able to view your emails exactly like you can see on the screen at the moment. So it's a great tool if you do want everything in one place. You can see, you can view your emails, you can reply to them. And it does bring in additional tools as well, so you can create tasks. They are bringing it to discussing chats, create events from emails. So yeah, and you can create multiple email boxes as well. So if you wanted to connect another, you can click on connect new, and then you can switch between those email accounts directly from inside Bitrix.
Yeah, you can't run any processes on emails here, can you? In the self-hosted, an incoming email can trigger a process. The main one in there is that an incoming email to a specific email address would generate a support ticket, so your support at email, all those incoming emails can create a ticket. So, and we do other things in self-hosted whereby they might create a task or add to a list item or something, but you can't do that in the cloud, I don't think, can you? But if you wanted to that extra functionality, a way of integrating or capturing data from another system by...
I think one thing you could do is, if you did go down the wanting to trigger a process, you could create a task.
Oh, you can create a task from an email. Oh, right, okay, yes.
And then what you could do is you could drop it into a project work group that you have automation set on. So we could say, if we dropped it into the mega project where you were a moment ago, and that task will then start in the first stage of that project's Kanban, you can then trigger the automation rules off on that Kanban stage.
So actually you could then go on to do anything, couldn't you, really?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the email in, you can then do anything with that. It could book a follow-up call, you could copy some of the data into a field in the CRM, I guess, things like that. So it's quite flexible. I think if you're trying to integrate with another system, then it's quite a simple way of doing it.
I've got a question here. I just want to save an email right into a deal, but I can't. Yeah, you won't be able to do that. You don't have the integration with the deals from your mailbox. I think if you were to save it to the CRM here, what it would do is it would check to see who the email's from. If they existed already, it would go into that particular contact or that particular lead. If it didn't exist already, the email who it came from, it would generate a lead in the system. I'm not sure what would happen. Yeah, you mentioned it creates a lead. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure what would happen if you had CRM mode switch to no leads. I'm not sure if that would still create a lead or it would create a deal. It might be worth testing out. But yeah, it does create a lead if the email address doesn't exist at the moment. What you possibly could do is you could have some automation on a lead to check the source, and the source is email, because that's what the source would be if we saved to CRM. So you would have a condition in your lead automation in here. So if we clicked into your lead and then clicked on the automation rules, potentially what we could do is, if we were to configure these, we could create a deal based on the source being I think you create using source. We can create a deal here based on the source equaling email. I'm sure the source is an email. Source equals, I think it does say email. So create a deal when a lead is generated using source email, and then what you could do is, again, straight after that one, we could then delete the lead, delete the CRM record, again if the source equals email. So what that would do is it would trigger, create the deal, and then delete the lead straight away, only when a lead is generated by an email. It might be an option for you.
Yeah, can I change roles, permissions for users in a project? Can create different permissions inside a project. So a project is a project or a work group. And let's have a look. Actions. Let's have a look. Where do we do? Maybe I've not got the permissions
You're not
to
the
do
owner.
that. Let's go into a different group. So depending on, so I'm logged in as John Smith. Depending on who you are, you get, as you've asked for, different permissions, and that I don't have permission to change that one. But in here, I can edit the project and access permissions. So you want to change roles and permissions. So in here, you've got various settings that you can change. This is allow users to invite to the project. Who do you want to invite new people to the project? This is about drives, permissions to view, private tasks, view all tasks. So who can view tasks, and you've got some different settings you can choose from there. Scroll down, there's quite a few different settings. So drive permissions are set in the document library. Set in the document library of the work group. Okay, so you need to go in there to do permissions on the drive. So you need to do permissions individually on the folders in the drive. Got settings on conversations. Who can view conversations? Who can make posts? Who can delete posts? And that's it. Yeah, you can do quite a lot of different permissions in there, and generally those different levels of access, those different user groups there, you can select from. So if you look down the right hand side, you've got project owner, project assistants, and then general members. These members would include your extranet users if you're inviting those in. They're called slightly different things, aren't they, if you create it as a work group as opposed to a project. I think they're called work group owner and slightly different things, but essentially you've got three different levels of users, and you can assign different roles and permissions to them.
Yeah, and looking at the actual permissions in the drive, as Damien said, you can't control the permissions of the document drive through the access permissions in the actions button. But if you click on the little gear icon here whilst you're in the drive, you can then specify who you want to have access to the whole drive from this point. And then if you check this box, enable extended permissions, then that will allow you to set permissions on each individual file and folder within the work group. So that's how you would, and the calendar is pretty similar as well. So in the calendar, you can set permissions in here. If we scroll down, you can see access permissions. We have all the visitors full access. We can change that in there as well. So there are modules inside it that you control on the module by module permission structure.
Yeah, let's put our contact details on the screen. Should you want to get in touch with us afterwards about anything really to do with Bitrix, particularly if you want a demo, if you have any specific questions that you want us to show, if you have a very specific feature you want us to show, or a specific process you want us to show you, then we can You can detail that to us, and we can set up a call and go through that with you one-to-one. Email us at sales@intraface.com, or use any of those telephone numbers to get in touch. Post your questions in the chat window if you have any questions. We have a couple that have come in beforehand. Can I add subtasks to a parent task? So you can create tasks and subtasks. You create the task, and then I don't think you create it in here. Let's just have a quick look. So if I go into an existing task and edit that, then can we associate another task with this inside here? Subtask of, yeah. So if we had the parent task already, then we can make this a subtask of the other task that you select.
Yeah, the other option is, so yeah, that was the same task. So let's just go back down. The other option is, if you, whilst you're in the task itself, if you click on the top right hand corner here, you can actually create a subtask for this particular task on here. So if we create subtask, that will automatically fill in the field that we just did a moment ago, subtask of, and then we can say Bitrix, click on add task, and then when we go back in here, you can now see that we have a little plus icon. The subtask is now nested underneath the head task. This is a good way to work, particularly on projects. We tend to group them up in phases, so we would have a phase 1 head task, and then we would have multiple subtasks below that, and then phase 2, and the same. Because once you do that, and when you look at the Gantt chart view, you can then clearly see a roadmap for your project based on a head task and a subtask. Everything will be stepped along the particular project path.
Yep. Do you provide training for Bitrix24? We do. We can provide online training or training in your office. We have standard training courses that we can deliver for you, or if we're doing any, if we're creating any custom processes for you, obviously we'd be training on that, how that process works. But yeah, we can train. You can do a standard training course, or you can tailor it. You can tell us what you want to learn, and we can do that for you. Generally, kind of administrator training, but we can train the end user team as well if you prefer that. We don't do developer training, so that's if you've got a self-hosted instance and you want to know how to do development work at the code level. We wouldn't get involved in that, only because it takes developers quite a long time, a number of years generally, to learn just how the Bitrix framework is all set up. So it's quite complex, so we wouldn't get involved in doing that sort of developer level training. We do a bit where we've got some clients who want to know how to change something from time to time in the code. If it's something very specific, we'll be able to show you that. We couldn't do a general training course on development. But yeah, we do of course provide training. Yeah. I only want users to have access to their own leads. Is this possible? So if we go into the CRM, and there's a lot of different configurations you can do in the CRM around permissions. If you go into more in settings, you're going to need to be an administrator to see this. And into permissions, click into access permissions. So what you need to do is create your role or edit one of the existing roles, and then afterwards assign that to a user or a group of users. We've got this one here, Department Sales North, all department employees. So let's say we only want these guys to see their own leads. Currently they've got this role called Sales Executive. Let's go into that, click on the edit for that role, and we can see the entity or the module on the left hand side, you can see that there's a lot of deals here. So we've got quite a lot of different deal pipelines on this demo site. If we skip through those, then we can see leads. If you click on the button that expands it, it'll actually give you every single stage of the lead, and you can configure the stages, the different stages you have on a lead, to suit your business. And then once you've done that, you can then set different permissions for each stages. So you've got, if you go up to the top, you've got read, add, update, delete, export. So you really want to deny access to all of these, I guess, except for those that, let me just show you. So if I go into here, then you've got a setting called personal. So we want to just allow personal across all of these. And then you're going to have to go down here as well, because you want to set it to personal regardless of what stage it's at. And the nice thing is you can change the access permissions as the lead progresses through different stages. And the main example for that would be probably access denied, or probably personal or something like that. So you might want to shut them down. So you might want to give access at a read level, but at an update and a delete level, you might want to deny access to do that, to change it or to delete it once it's been won or lost. Kind of want to lock it down. So yeah, you just need to change these to personal, but go across for all the different settings. You've got a few different options here. You can do personal departments, so that's, I'll show you where you find departments in a second. And you can do personal department and departments that sit below you as well. Or you can just say any lead that's open, then or give access to all leads. If I just show you departments, we come out of that, we won't save that. I'm going to go into employees. So this is a company structure. Before you create your permissions, you're probably going to want to do this. Here's our sales team north and sales team south. In this instance, you wanted access to only their own leads, but if you wanted to let everyone in that team see each other's leads, then you can set that permission to department. And there was one to see departments that sit below as well, so you can create these departments and sit them below. You can easily move these, if you're an administrator, move these things around to create your company structure. Let me just show you inside the CRM. So it says personal. You show you what personal means. If we open up a lead, every lead, every record, whether it's a lead, company, a contract, deal, invoice, they have this one has a sales agent. Have we renamed that?
Yeah, I think from
here.
Oh,
just hidden the field. Okay, so just this one has is associated to user. We've called sales agent, but what I'm looking for is the field called responsible. Might be that we've hidden that field. Responsible person. Select myself. So this is the standard field that is. Let's move that up. The standard field that is in each module called responsible person. A record has to be assigned to a responsible person, and that's what we mean by personal leads. If I'm responsible for the lead, then I can view that if those permissions are set in that way.
Yeah, so you can see here on this particular column we have John Smith responsible for this particular lead. If it was set to personal, John Smith would only see that one lead because Tara and Mike are responsible for the others. So it's quite straightforward when you set up those roles, especially personal, like having the lead section accessible on a personal lead basis is very, very common inside Bitrix.
Got the same in companies and all the other records. You can see who the responsible person is. What I can do, see I'm responsible as John Smith to a couple of these. I can go into here and filter for, just view my own. If permissions were set whereby I could see all companies in the system. I just want to then filter and see my own. I can use the filter at the top to find which are my customers.
So I had a question come in about setting sales targets inside Bitrix. So it is possible if you go into the CRM and click on Start, then you can actually set your employees, your sales agents, specific sales targets. So if we scroll down here, you can see we have a sales target block. Now, first of all, if you don't see this on your start screen, you can actually add the report widget to this particular screen. So click on Add Report. On the activity section here, you'll be able to see the sales target widget. Click on that and then it will appear on this particular screen. So secondly, you do need to have the permissions to be able to configure the sales targets. So I'm an administrator on here at the moment, but what you need to remember is the sales targets figures are based on the figures that are within a deal. So a deal, when a deal has been won, that is classed as a target that's been achieved. So if we have one particular deal that's worth $17,500, then we win that particular deal, it's going to drop in and record against that particular sales agent's sales target. So you can see here, John Smith has $10,000 sales target, $5,500 for Mark, and $2,000 for Mike Black. So as soon as a deal is won that Mike Black is responsible for, so what Damien was mentioning about the responsible person for a lead and a contact, deals also have that field. So if Mike Black converts and wins a deal that's worth $2,000, he will essentially win that deal out. So you can see here, once you break it down, how much has been completed, remaining, and the percent of target. And then finally, if you go into configure, I say you do need to have permissions to do this, but what we would generally recommend is at the start of your year, you would go through on a month-by-month basis. You can set the targets for each individual sales agent here, and you can add more for each month. So it may be that in August, we want to bring in John White, then we can add a figure in here. So as soon as that month appears, we can add that in. So it's quite straightforward. Click save, and then you'll be able to see Mark come into there.
Yeah, so let's have your questions. If you have any in the chat window, send them in the chat window or email them over to live@interface.com if it's after this session, and we'll answer it on next time. Or if you've got a question you want to know the answer to straight away, email sales@interface.com and our sales guys can come back to you, demo, answer those specific questions you've got, or demo how that works inside Bitrix. Is there a limit to the number of open channels I can connect in the contact center? So I think let's have a look. There is a limit. I think. So what you need to do is go onto the pricing section and scroll down, and you can see what you get for your money here. So we're looking for open channels. I think it's got its own section. Let's have a quick look. Open channels. Here we go. Channels. So on the free, you get one. Unlimited here. Project unlimited. So mostly unlimited. You can still connect one even on the free package, but you just need to check this project one because that's different. You get some different stuff on that. It's quite different to the other packages. Generally, from free going up to start and CRM and standard professional, you get more and more, but the project one's slightly different. But it's all detailed there. So check this before you buy anything, because you can't get a refund. So if something's not in the package you want, and you should have should have checked it out first. But it does detail, I think everything. Although that said, there's always something, a sort of a functionality that's not listed as a main functionality that might be important to you. You should check that exists, or that works the way you want it to work. So we get quite a lot of businesses that come to us and buy the system, and then sometimes they'll come back and say, well, it doesn't do it the same way that our old system does it. So generally it won't. Generally it will be able to achieve the same thing as you did in your previous system, but if something's important to you, you should check out that it does it the way you want it before you buy it. It's quite often a case that it just needs configuring to do it the way you want it, and so that's a case of knowing how to configure it. So it might be some documentation. There's lots of training and videos and sessions like this that can help you, or you can work with a partner who will set it up for you. So I think most of the time, if somebody says it doesn't do what they want it to do, it generally will do it. It just needs setting up to do what they want it to do. So yeah, we've only got a couple of questions left, I think. So if you want to ask some questions, ask some questions. Otherwise, we'll finish. Will the system run quicker on my own server? So the cloud edition, so Bitrix is available as. Scroll to the top of this page. Bitrix is available as a cloud with all these packages, and then an on-premise edition with a lot of other packages here. The cloud is hosted on Amazon's servers, and depending on which location you are, where you sign up from, it'll be hosted on the local server to you. You can, if you want to host it on your own server, then you need to buy an on-premise license, and then your options about hosting will be to host it on a physical server in your office, or host it on your own kind of Amazon instance, or your own web server, web data center, or we can provide space in our own data center for you, so we can host it for you. The question is, does it run quicker? I think Bitrix provide the resources necessary depending on how busy your site is. You'll automatically get more resources. I do believe that there is a limitation on the number of the level of resources you get on the free accounts, and if you go on any paid cloud subscription, then those resources are increased, so the speed potentially is increased. If you're not happy with that, we don't get any complaints about speed, I don't think, on the cloud. But if you're not happy with it, then it might be that some local instance do your internet connection. But if you're not happy with it, then you can migrate to an on-premise, and then how you do it on premise is down to you. So you'll assign the resources you need to your server. We'd give you some guidance on that, give you a document on what it is you need to have available on that server. I recommend. What you need available, it depends on what you're using the system for and how many users you've got and things like that. But we'll ask you those sort of questions. So, but I don't think necessarily it's the answer. If you think it's running slow, I don't think it's going to run any particularly quicker on self-hosted. Is it really? Not particularly. It should run quickly anyway. If you. But you might be able to get some marginal increases in speed using the self-hosted if you're really going to pile some good resources into the server. So, we got any questions? No. Okay, so that's all we've got. So I think we'll leave it there. If you want to subscribe to Interface Bitrix24 on YouTube, then you'll get notifications about these sessions. If you hit the notifications bell, then you'll get those notifications. But yeah, that's all we've got for now, and bye for now.